coming in hot to the mayor's office today. I can't wait for this one. This is going to be a absolute great one. We got the NL Rookie of the Month for July, one of the best players in baseball right now. And if you're not paying attention, this guy has really been a catalyst for the Brewers and where they're at right now. But I want to bring him in, my man Isaac Collins. What's up, Isaac? How you doing, brother?
Doing good, Sean. How you doing?
Dude, I'm doing great, man. Appreciate you joining me today, man. I know time is valuable during the season, and appreciate you jumping on me. But I want to talk a little bit right now about you guys, about the Brewers and what you're doing, because it's been really impressive. I think we all have enough sample size now that we're in September, and you guys are still doing what you're doing, 85 wins and kind of rolling along. So, how do you guys feel right now? You just came off a long stretch, 18 games in a row, I believe, without a day off. And, what are the vibes going into September?
They're great, obviously. I mean, we had, like you said, we had a long stretch there, 18 games in 17 days, whatever it was. And, we played some good opponents. Cubs on the road, Toronto on the road, the Giants at home. Like, we played some good games. And, there were some good moments for sure, but there are also some learning opportunities and moments that we can just learn from and take into this last month of the year and into the playoffs. And but overall, I mean, I feel like we're in a great spot. Everyone's contributing. A few guys are obviously in the IL, but Churio's come back, and a few guys coming back as well. So can't really complain. This last month we just gotta fine tune some things and really set things straight before that last push into the playoffs.
Yeah, it seems like you guys are pretty loaded. It's like you're mixing and matching guys, into the lineups here and there. And Murph has some good, ways he can go matchup wise. Can you talk about that a little bit, Isaac? Just about Murph. I really feel like I've known Murph for years. And when I look at the team, I almost feel like he handpicked it. He's like, "No, give me that guy. Give me that guy." You guys play the game hard. I mean, if there's anybody that's kind of playing old school baseball, it seems like you guys are, kind of whatever it takes. How has Murph kind of filtered his personality into your team?
Yeah, I mean, he expects a lot of us. He's definitely a little strict and stern, and he expects just us to play the game the right way. And, we have an identity, and that's, sound defense, sound base running, and just filling up the zone on the mound and having quality at-bats at the plate. And, when we kind of stray away from that, he lets us know and tells us, we got to get back to what we are and who we are. And, obviously this is my first year up here. I don't really know how other managers go about things, but I'm assuming, at this level, it's hard to get professional players to buy into something like that. But we have the right group of guys to do that. And, we bought into this, Brewers identity that we are. And, we all know our role, and we're all just trying to be the best version of ourselves in that role. And that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's what it seems like, man. It's been really fun to watch. Could you talk about that a little bit? Because I look at your team and I'm like, man, I feel like, there's not a ton of superstars on the team. Obviously, Yelly's done his thing his whole career. He's still that guy. But when I look at your team, I think to myself, if you give the Brewers 2 extra outs, they're going to make you pay, because they're not going to give you extra outs. So you guys play 27 outs, great defense, but the base running too it feels like an identity for you guys. Can you talk about that, the base running a little bit, the defense, and like how, because nowadays baseball is, hey, hit the ball at the ballpark and you're going to get paid. And I feel like you guys are like, no, we're going to do all the little things right to win ball games.
Yeah, death by 1,000 paper cuts is singles work. If we can get a single, stolen base, move the runner over, score them, like that's quality baseball right there. And I just feel like we have a sustainable process. Like, we can win games in multiple different ways. We don't necessarily just rely on, Yelich or Churio or Contreras hitting 3-run home runs late in the game to give us the lead. We can have 2-3 singles in an inning, mix in a walk, and then all of a sudden we have, bases loaded, 1 out, we score 2 runs, bam, we're back in it, whatever. So it's just, and like you said with the base running, I mean, it's really just, whatever the game has given us. if it's there, we're going to take it, and if it's not, we're not going to try to do too much. But we're always looking to score first to home or go first to third on a base hit. And I mean, it comes down to just knowing the game and going through situations in your head prior to them happening, but also veterans like Yelich, like he's been around for so long, he's played so many games that and he's willing to give us that advice and to explain to us, all right, here, this is a moment where we want to look at getting an extra base, or here's a moment where we should stay away and not necessarily be as aggressive as we would like. And so having a guy like that and a leader like that that's willing to coach and help us younger players to see the game and through his eyes, it helps a lot. And when you do that over and over and over the course of 162 games, then like you said, you end up getting extra outs or getting extra runs that other teams may not have gotten over the course of a year. And when you do that, you win ball games. And so you don't really see that up here, but it's just who we are as a team. It's the roster that we have, and like I said, we know our role, and we're just trying to be the best version of ourselves in that role.
How about you? I mean, it actually is an incredible story. What you're doing, how you've been playing, your consistency. Did you think? How should I frame this question? At the beginning of the year, when you were in spring training, could you ever thought you'd be sitting here in September with the best team in baseball, having a shot to win the Rookie of the Year?
Honestly, no, I really didn't. But it was more just, I'm just taking this thing one day at a time, and if I do that over and over and over, then it should all work itself out, and I knew we had a good team, we had good players, and if I wanted to, make the roster and help us win, I needed to be that reliable guy. Like, I never wanted to be a guy that you can't really count on, or you're not sure what type of player he's going to be today. I want to just be the same guy every single day. And I feel like we have a lot of those dudes in this clubhouse where they're just the same guy every day, whether the day before they were 2 for 4 or they were 0 for 5 or they had a rough outing on the mound, whatever. They're just the same guy every day. So that was kind of my mantra: just show up, be the best version of myself each day. The results will all work itself out in the end. Yeah, when you go into a day or into the game, chasing results, like wanting to get 2 hits a night or whatever it is, like it doesn't come. Like it doesn't work like that at this level. I mean, to answer your question, no, I did not really expect for me to be in this situation, but I mean, I also knew that we were a good team. So the fact that we're in first place doesn't necessarily surprise me, but it's been a crazy year.
When you go back and look at your journey, dude, you get drafted by the Rockies, you play a couple years there, COVID hits, kind of wipes out 2020. Then you get Rule 5 by the Brewers. I mean, it was a journey for you to get to the big leagues. Can you talk about the grit it kind of took to get here? And also, I mean, that mental resiliency. And also, was there ever a thought of, maybe it's time to go to the working world?
Yeah, oh, definitely. I mean, the minor league journey for me was a long one and tough at times, 100%. And, being 9th round pick, I was never a top 30 prospect. I always knew that I had to earn my opportunities. And so, first year in pro ball, I actually had a really good year in high A and low A. But that next year, double A, Eastern League, was a rough one. I struggled mainly mentally. It was just, I fell into that trap of chasing results and, being emotionally attached to the result. And, going into games, looking at the scoreboard, going, oh, if I don't get a hit tonight, my average is going to be 205 or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So, it was tough. But I eventually got to the point of, you know what, like, I'm not going to care about the result. I'm just going to focus on my process, focus on what's within my control. And I ended the year on a pretty decent note. and just carried that over into the next year. And then that winter ended up getting waived and claimed by the Brewers, and that was just another kind of motivating experience and opportunity for me. It's like, all right, I have a fresh start. I'm with a new organization. They don't really know the type of person I am. All they really know is just my statistics and the numbers on the paper. But I'm going to show them, like, okay, this is how I go about my business. This is how I'm going to prove that I can be a major leaguer and carry that over into the next year. And, there was definitely some mechanical adjustments I needed to make, and I made those. But at the end of the day, it ultimately was just staying process oriented and figuring out what my process is, and try and be the best version of myself each day. If it wasn't for that first summer in AA where I struggled and those doubts crept in and those thoughts of, okay, maybe I'm not cut out for this, maybe I don't have the skill that I thought I did to play at this level. If it wasn't for those thoughts and that struggle, I wouldn't be here. So it was a blessing in disguise, really. It's really the best way I can describe it. And just being able to embrace that bad experience. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I was just fighting it. I was trying to fight my way out of that slump, and if you fight the game, you're never going to win.
Never.
So
yeah.
That was just a big learning opportunity for me. And then I carried that over into the next few years, and the confidence started to build when I realized, wait, I actually can play a little bit. Like, I can drive the ball. I made that mechanical adjustment at the plate, and kind of just took off from there and was able to debut last year.
Was there someone that helped you along the way? Like, because I know I really believe that the mental part of the game, learning a process, going one pitch at a time, learning how to breathe and slow the game down is a skill. And I don't think it's taught enough, and I think it's the biggest skill out there. Was there somebody that kind of helped you along the way at that point and said, hey, man, you got to start developing this skill of process too?
Yeah, the mental skills coaches that I worked with Colorado, but also here with Milwaukee. There's multiple people that I've worked with, and it was just really just conversations. And there was one conversation in particular that I had with a mental skills coach with Colorado, and this is after I got waived. This is right before my first spring training with Milwaukee. It was like, I'm just going to call him because I have his number and I just want to talk things out. And we had a long conversation, and at the end, he's like, you have the answers to the test. Like, you know what you need to do. Now just write them down. Just do it. And so that was just a big confidence boost. Like, I know what I need to do, but that's the hard part. The hard part is staying process oriented and not falling into that trap of worrying about results and getting caught up in the results. That's the easy route, is to go that way. But the hard route is to stay process oriented and stay present and embrace, the bad experiences. And so, I carried that over into the next year, and again, I made a few adjustments at the plate, and the results started to come, and the confidence started to build, and then it just, carried over. So it was, there's definitely a lot of people that I need to thank in that mental skills department, but it's people with the Rockies and also here with the Brewers.
It's that win or learn mentality. Like, what did I learn here? Like, I always feel like as human beings, the data we get are the mistakes that we make. So the mistakes means, okay, that didn't work. I got to upgrade here. I got to figure out how to drive the ball. I got to learn to hunt the fastball, or whatever the process is, to get you there. So, dude, I love that. I love to hear that, because you don't get to where you're at and have the success you're at if you're not going one pitch at a time, game by game by game. I mean, it's just, it's impossible at that level. Your dad, I'm really interested because you're a great athlete, dude. Like, I believe you were player of the year in football and baseball in Minnesota, right, when you were in high school, I
was up for player of the year. I didn't win either one, but
well, you're up for it. Okay, if you're up for it, that means you're one of the best. That means you're one of the best. And your dad played 4 years at WVU when they were one of the best teams in the country. I believe they should have probably been in the national championship game the one year, but they ended up just getting outside it. What was it like with him? Like, what influence has your dad had on you? And, as far as that toughness goes, there's a real toughness for playing the game of football. And obviously that mentality is different than baseball. And sometimes the football mentality could probably get you in trouble in baseball, as far as slowing down and stuff. But can you talk about your dad and the influence that he's had on you in your career?
Yeah, I mean, my dad was, I mean, he was like the first person that I like looked up to that I wanted to be like him. He had his jersey like in our basement. There's photos of him like playing football in college. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be just like my dad. I want to play college football at West Virginia, and obviously went a different route. But yeah, he was always our coach for my brother and I, and he was hard on us for sure, because but I think it was mostly because he saw the potential in my brother and I. My older brother was also a fifth round draft pick in baseball. Um, so he was hard on us, but at the same time, like, it's because he knew the potential that we had, and he knew like if we really wanted to get to where we wanted to go, we couldn't cut corners. It was always important to him, like when we practice, like, never go through the motions. Like, practice is just as important as the game. And he gave us so many good life lessons through him coaching us, like in football and in baseball. And I 1000% would not be here if it wasn't for him. And and obviously he was just a great dad as well. Was always there for us, and always supporting us. And he's still texting me after games, and just like keep moving forward, stay process oriented, like be a pro, just stuff that he wish he would have gotten when he was in our shoes, or in my shoes. So it's just, he gets it. I'm not sure like if many other dads like quite understand like what it's like to play a professional sport at this level, but like my dad, despite not getting to the highest level, he definitely understands the sacrifices and just the grind and how important it is to just take it one day at a time and just be a professional about it, and just be the same guy every day.
Well, that helps. Your dad basically. I mean, I'd have to say that at the height of that Division I football he was playing, that's as close to the NFL as you're going to play. As far as him being a 4-year starter, captain, all that stuff. Is there, I know sometimes my dad's got is on my shoulder on a couple things that he has said to me in my journey. Like, I remember when I was 14 years old and came in, I didn't play a lot with my freshman year, and he's like, "You're not glaringly better." He's like, "You got to start working harder. You got to show the coach that you're glaringly better. That's how you end up playing." You know what I mean? And I remember him telling me one other time when I had no scholarship offers, he would tell me, "Nobody's coming for you. You got to go. Nobody's here to help you out. Like, you got to go, write the letters to the universities and stuff." Is there any piece of advice that your dad's given you, something like that, a phrase or a line that you're like, it's kind of your thing in your house, that you're like, you can hear his voice on your shoulder?
I mean, I remember when I was younger, like early high school, he would always say like, if being the best was easy, everyone would be it. Like, and that just really came down to, you got to work at it. Like, I was a gifted athlete at a young age, and obviously once you go through puberty, some guys grow, some guys don't. I didn't really grow too much. I'm still only 5'8", and he just pretty much said, like, if you want to be the best and continue to be the best player on the field, it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. Like, you got to work at it. And I had an older brother who played football, basketball, baseball. I looked up to him a lot as well, and I always had something to look forward to. I knew what was going to be next for me. Like, I saw him play high school basketball, saw him play high school football, high school baseball. It's like, that's going to be me in a few years, and I can't wait, and I'm going to be ready for my opportunity. And so yeah, it's just a combination of both of them. But yeah, that saying of just, if being the best was easy, everyone would be it. He would always say that to me as a kid, and I think it led to that just motivation for me when I got into high school and like really started to work at it, and that dream of, okay, I want to be a college athlete. Once that really started to manifest, I think, those words, were true. Like I have to outwork other people if I really want to get to where I want to get to.
The thought process, the reason I love the game of baseball, I played with a guy that wasn't the biggest dude ever, Dustin Pedroia in 2008. He was my locker mate. And I swear to God, I thought this guy was going to take off his, Murph coached him in college. I thought he was going to take off his shirt, be the most jacked dude I've ever seen. I was like, hey, you're Dustin Pedroia? He took his shirt off. I was like, well, you're Dustin Pedroia? It's incredible. But when he opened his mouth, I was like, this guy thinks he's 6'7", 330 pounds, Jack Diesel. Like, it was a different mentality. Did you feel like the thing I love about baseball is the strike zone is the strike zone. Whether you're 6'4", 5'8", 5'10", 5'4", doesn't matter. I mean, you had to have heard the whispers about being 5'8" and not being big enough or strong enough and stuff. When the doubters came in, or when you heard things that, like, man, you don't look the part to play in the big leagues. How were you able to talk to yourself through that? Or were there any chips you played on your shoulder, man? You know what?
Yeah. I mean, I've always felt like I play better when I have a chip on my shoulder or when I have something to prove. And that's funny you say that about Pedroia, because he talked to us at the beginning of spring training this year, and he's in that meeting, and it resonated with me like throughout the entire year. He's like, every time I stepped on that field, I was there to earn the respect of my teammates and my opponent. Like every single time I stepped on that field. And for me, that resonated with me going into this year, because I was like, you know what, like nobody knows who I am, and I kind of like that. Like I want to go and step on this field having people wonder, like, who is this guy, and earn their respect. And when I play that way, trying to prove, like, hey, like, I belong up here, I'm a good player at this level, I always play better. But when I'm out there, try not to make a mistake, or just trying to keep my head above water, that's when the mistakes show up. But when I'm up there, like you said, with the chip on my shoulder, playing with an edge, like playing to prove that, hey, I belong in this field, and y'all are going to need to respect me every time I step up to the plate, that's when, the best version of myself shows up. So, yeah, I mean, that's funny you bring that up about Pedroia, and, like, I'm a pretty humble guy, I'd say. I don't really, like, try to be someone I'm not. Like, I understand I'm a smaller dude, and, I don't necessarily hit home runs like Pedroia did. Like, he used to mash balls, but that's just not my game. So, for me, I just wanted to prove to other teams that I'm a tough out. Like, if I step up to the plate, like, you're going to have to execute pitches, and if you don't execute pitches, I'm going to take advantage, and play good defense and just make the right base running decisions. So, yeah, I mean, for me, playing with a chip on my shoulder, like, that's everything. I have to play with an edge each night, and it's hard over a 162 game season. Like, that's tough to get yourself to get to that mentality. But everyone on that field, they got families to feed too. So, like, it's a man's game up here, and you gotta be ready to go.
Talking about families to feed, you just had your first baby, a son, I believe, about 2.5 weeks ago. Dude, first off, congratulations, because I know what that's like. I got 4 kids, and it's an incredible moment. And can you tell us about purpose? I mean, do you feel like having your son has changed you in a way when you take that field now? There's a different purpose for when Isaac Collins crosses the white lines.
Yeah, 1,000%. Obviously, I'm doing it for something more than just myself now. And, like, being a father, and for the first time, it's a wonderful experience, and just so amazing knowing that I always have him to go home to. And for me, it's just, I want to just be a good example. Everything that I do, every decision that I make, I think about him, and just how can I be the best role model possible for him? Like, what can I do? Just attitude and effort. Those are the 2 things that are always within my control. And, I just always want to be a good example and good role model for him. And so, like you said, just that purpose, like, it's really a hard feeling to describe to be a father now as compared to the beginning of the year.
You kind of realize, man, I'm the most selfish guy out there. I know, you know what I mean? When you have a kid, you're like, man, I got to change poopies now. I got to feed the kid. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
your
yeah,
life changes, you know, your mentality changes as far as like thinking about what you got to do, you know?
exactly. Yeah, no, it's amazing. It really is, and you know the just the results of the game and just the you start to realize like this is just a game at the end of the day. Obviously, I want to be the best player that I possibly can be, and again, just like be a good example for my son. Like, hey, this is if you want to be a professional and you want to achieve your dreams, like this is how you have to do it, and you know, always think about him through that process. But at the end of the day, you know, if I go for four, two, three, four strikeouts, my son's gonna love me the same way as he did if I went 4 for 5. It's just, it's an amazing experience, and I'm just so grateful and excited for the journey with him and my wife.
So great, man. One experience I know you're going to share with them was a few weeks ago when you had that walk-off homer. Can you just take us back to that really quick and just what was that like, man, for you rounding the bases, you know, big moments? Feels like every game right now is big for the Brewers, but what was that moment like for you?
Yeah, it was a rush. It was an absolute rush. Something that I've never experienced before. You know, it's a total different rush compared to the birth of my son. Um, but I mean, yeah, it was a crazy day because there's a bunch of floods the night before in Wisconsin, and we weren't really sure like if people were going to show up to the game or not, and the fans showed up, and the Mets they came ready to play that day. They got off to an early lead, and we kind of just fought and chipped our way back, and yeah, going into that last at bat, tie game, leading off the inning, I really wasn't trying to do too much. I was just trying to get on base. And Diaz, you know, he has an elite fastball, you know, low arm slot that just kind of rises and runs, and uh, he blew one past me, I think 2-1, and you know I thought he was going to throw it again, and he just left a slide over the plate and you know caught it out front. I've never hit a walk off home run before, like all the way from when I was a little kid to now. Like that was my
Man,
first one ever. Yeah, rounding the bases, it
cloud
was a
nine,
rush.
right?
It was a rush. It was unbelievable. I couldn't even really believe like it happened, you know? Like I was texting my wife and my parents like what just happened. It was awesome.
It's awesome. The last question I want to ask you, because you know you're there every day, you get to experience it for 81 games. I've been around when the Brewers have won, and I know Milwaukee loves the Brewers. They love their Brewers, man. It seems like there's a fanaticism right now in Milwaukee when you guys are playing. You know, if you're when you're scoring, walking guys off, you're hitting walk-off homers. That place looks like it's shaking. Could you just take us in? What's it like right now in Milwaukee, in the city, when you walk around in that ballpark when you guys are playing every night?
Yeah, like you said, you know, people out here in Milwaukee, they love their Brewers. And I actually recognized that early on in the year, like back in April and May, like there's, you know, people have flags outside their houses, you know, Brewer stickers, Brewers license plates, like they love their Brewers here. There's a lot of pride in the city for us. And so for us to be playing good baseball right now and um, you know, putting a good product out in the field for them, you know, they're showing out and it's super cool. It really is, and you know that was me back when I was a kid. You know, I was a big Twins fan, and I looked up to those Twins players, and it always seemed like they were larger than life. Whenever I would go to a Twins game and I would see them in person, it's like, wow, that's actually Joe Mauer right there. I can't believe that's actually him. And so to be able to be in that position for kids out here is just it's amazing. Like I'm so grateful for it, and just you know all the fans, and you know they again like they love their Brewers, and you know they're great fans. They're loud when they're supposed to be loud, and it's a great team and organization, just fan base to be a part of. And again, I'm just so grateful for all of this.
Dude, so great. Well, dude, we're grateful we get a chance to turn on TV every night and see you play and see you and the boys and Murph doing his thing. But hey, man, congratulations to you, brother. You're you know one of the best in the game. Your personality and your vibe, your humble vibe is well appreciated. and the way you play the game. So good luck the last month. Hope you guys get to where you want to get seed wise and move on. Hopefully win a world championship. And please tell Murph and the boys I said hi and appreciate your time, my man. Thanks, Isaac.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me on.